1 week ago, we left Hebden Bridge and started our journey down to Dover to make our way across the Channel to France. The kids have never been out of the UK except for Griffin once when he was 6 months old, so this felt like quite an adventure for them. So we started off the journey by spending a day on the White Cliffs, picnicking, strolling, and talking about Agatha Christie murder mysteries. The kids were so excited, and it was really lovely for them to see that right across the water there was a whole other land, another continent, Griffin says, but we tried to clear up the confusion on that. So we drove through and down into the ferry port where we waited and watched all of the huge trucks passing by, equipped with picnics and cameras and lots of fizzing excitement. It was really lovely, and it's been so lovely just kind of experiencing the whole thing through a 6-year-old and 9-year-old's eyes. The way they just watch the water and the waves and the seagulls and seeing the cliffs disappear in the distance and then the French shore come into view. It was really quite magical actually, and luckily there was no seasickness, so we've been very, very lucky. We arrived in Calais and we knew that the first thing we wanted to do was go to a supermarket and choose some baguettes. Griffin's favourite food is baguettes, so we knew that coming to France was going to blow his mind. So we picked up some cheeses and the boys were allowed to choose something each. Elwyn chose some whipped cream, no, the cream in a tin. I chose some cheese. Griffin chose some double cocoa and tried one of his first baguettes in France. And our plan was to travel down to Les Seilhols where we used to live, so we spent a couple of days doing a lot of driving until we arrived in the Loire Valley, where we decided to camp for a couple of nights. So we set up the big bell tent and just got ourselves prepared, making hot drinks for the first time in a couple of days after lots of driving, and gathering ourselves and kind of planning our route down really, and taking it slowly because of the heat was really important, as well as doing things like laundry, which of course kids suddenly become involved in when we're out of the house and it doesn't involve a washing machine. Griffin found it absolutely fascinating. So we spent one full day in the campsite, and we knew that all we wanted to really do that day was take it easy, cook some food, make some salads, swim in the swimming pool. It was a really, really lovely swimming spot for the kids because they're not very confident swimmers. So we had a picnic at the tent, and Elwyn laid the picnic out for us with these beautiful napkins. And my friend Charlotte, who I've never even met in real life, but she printed these for me and sent them, and they are now a firm feature wherever we go. So if you saw my previous video of me packing up, I was packing these napkins and this picnic blanket because I knew that we'd want to make our meals feel that extra bit special. So we had a little bit of cooking lessons with the kids, with boiled eggs and instant noodles, which are two of their favourite foods, and also fire safety, like not kicking your legs around a cooker, using napkins to take lids off of pots, etc. I don't know how much went in, but I'm hoping that they took it on board. It's a nice opportunity to be focused on one sole thing when you're camping, so it becomes a bit more of an adventure rather than a lesson. And for example, chopping, Elwyn there is chopping some cucumber, and we were chatting about where to hold it, keeping your fingers in, things like that. It's all stuff I feel really nervous about and get quite anxious, but I know they need to learn, so we try and take these opportunities to do things like that and incorporate it into a fun activity rather than telling them off. I really enjoyed the colours of the sink area and spent quite a lot of time just filming and photographing our yellow pot and plates and bowls against the blue sky and the white and yellow tiles. Just the peacefulness of it, and it kind of reminds me of Almodovar films. So the next day we carried back on our journey past the lovely 2CV and made it down to the south of France, to the Languedoc, to where we used to live about 14 years ago. And it's this beautiful plot of land with a house called Les Seilhols, where our friends Scott and Saira live. And since we lived here, they've created some beautiful little spots which they now hire out as self-catering spots. So this is their main house where they live on the right-hand side. And we're staying next to it in the dairy, which I'll show you in a bit. But first of all, I thought I would just show you a little bit of the land where you walk down to get to the writer's cabin. And this is where Saira used to write. She's an author and journalist. And when they started renting out spots for self-catering, they converted this into a space to hire. And it's just completely idyllic, surrounded by trees, so quiet. All you can hear is the cicadas, with the lovely little terrace outside, and then you go inside and it's a haven for book lovers, writers, anyone who is seeking some kind of peace and refuge from the busy world outside there. And as you can see, it's all completely self-contained. There's a little kitchen in there. So it was really lovely for us to see all of this, to see how far it's come, how much work they've done, because when we were here they were just starting to do things like this and growing a lot of vegetables on the land. There's Scott in the distance running. And this is the dog Bramble. There's also a cat called Marzipan. It's just been really lovely seeing all of their spots come together and just how verdant it all is, because we're here now in July. And then this is the dairy where we are staying, which is right next to the big house, and we used to live here in winter. This is the top bedroom upstairs, and the main house and the dairy are quite a bit darker, which is such a relief in the summer. Usually I'm all for natural light streaming through, but it's actually, of course, wisely designed and built so that it's a lot cooler on the inside. And they've kept it very minimal and rustic because the terrain is quite rough. Everything just kind of needs to be a bit simpler, not with flowery fans like I've put in there. And this is the terrace outside, where I remember sitting here 14 years ago and thinking, I wish we could live here. And then shortly after, they invited us to stay and live. And I remember we sourced these saddles from all around the land. We found loads of old things and brought them in, like, oh, this would work here, and this old trunk, and it's lovely to see them all still here. And then this is the little cottage where we lived in the summer, and I have such fond memories of this cottage. It used to be an old chicken coop, and they've since put electricity in it. When we lived in it, there was no running water or electricity, and they've since built a little kitchen. And then there's a little fridge behind there and a shower and a toilet just past it. And it's just one little room. It's now got a wood-burning stove. They're in between having guests at the moment, so they're all looking a little bit bare, but it meant that I was able to come in and just take some videos of what it's looking like at the moment. I was so happy living in this cottage, right next to this old ruin, which is on the way down to the river, which we decided to then go down to with the kids. Again, it's quite rough terrain, so you have to wear pretty practical shoes, and it's all very steep. It's not the kind of manicured France, I guess, that a lot of people know. That's the bread oven where we also make pizzas, and could eventually be turned into a little house, I think. It's a really wild, beautiful part of France with lots of chestnut forests and lakes and rivers. That's one of the geodomes, which I couldn't film because there are people in it, but they've got two of them. And then this is the little path down to the river, where they've now got some benches and some deck chairs. And we went in and they lent us a little canoe. And because our kids aren't very confident swimmers, it was just a really safe, lovely little spot for them to play around and splash and get to feel more confident. So that's where we're up to, just a week in. We've done a lot and also not very much. So for the next week, I think I'm going to take a few more videos of slower moments and just little windows of our time here. But so far, that's where we're up to, and I'll be sharing another video next week. Thank you so much for watching.